Welcome back, and in this segment we will be talking about the resumption of the Russian tourism to Egypt in light of President Vladimir Putin's visit and his meeting with President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi on Monday, and the talks discussed, and how the idea of the resumption of the tours and the Russian tourism is placed on the table for discussion right now. And we will be talking about the importance of that market and the Russian travelers for tourism in Egypt. And I'm happy to have with me tourism expert Mr. Elhamy. He was also the former president of the Tourism Chambers Federation. Good afternoon with us.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Elhamy, pleasure to have you with us today. And how do you see the tourism in Egypt nowadays?
Well, it's promising. It has not achieved much in terms of numbers or revenue, but it is promising. And I'm very pleased to say that it's promising also on the Nile, because a tourist on the Nile spends 5 times more than a tourist in Hurghada or Sharm el-Sheikh. And he's using more human resources, because they take a guide, they have a bus driver, they have all what the other guys don't have. So, and it's not inclusive, because on the Red Sea, you find most of the hotels, they are selling all inclusive. So this is not the case for the people who come for culture and do Cairo, Luxor, Aswan, or Luxor, Aswan only. So I think it's picking up again, and it's picking up from very good destinations, such as the United States, Canada, through its small volume, but it's adequate income, unlike the sea resorts.
Now, Mr. Elhamy, actually also there have been plans, or has been plans, to put the religious tourism on the map. I know that we've been doing the Holy Track, or the Holy Families route in Egypt. We've been doing that for some time, but there are now concentration on opening more sites, and especially after the Vatican agreed and is now promoting for such tours. Now, the importance of such religious tourism, and how can we promote more for the trip of the Holy Family in Egypt?
Okay, I'm a member, I'm the vice president of the association that is responsible for rehabilitating the Christian and the Muslim sites. And we have started this family, Holy Family, in 2001, as a matter of fact, with Dr. Beltagi. And but what we have to be reasonable about, we should not expect a lot of people. And I explained my point of view from the points of statistics, what is happening. Because everybody says we'll get 3 million tourists, we get 2 million tourists just for this sake. I said no. Because you have restrictions. Number one, if somebody doesn't go to church, he won't come to visit on the pace of the Holy Family. He will not do it. So you need to identify what percentage of the population goes to church. So the highest number, or highest percentage, is the United States, 20%. If you go to Europe, Paris, France, France is 10%. England is 9%. So you have to take part of this 9%. And if you go to Russia, 2% go to church. So, you know, you can't bring them. And these are the Orthodox, Greek Orthodox, not Egyptian Orthodox. So there is quite a... So all what I'm saying, it will attract, but you cannot sell the entire itinerary. We have it because it's part of the tradition of Egypt, and we have reconstructed the itinerary in 2001. And but nobody has so many days vacation to spend only for religious
it's
visits.
a sort of a pilgrimage in a sense.
Exactly. And what I kept telling the people, it's a visit, it's not a pilgrimage. Because a pilgrimage is dictated by the religion. But this one is optional. You can do it and you don't have to do it if you want. So the second thing we have to consider is how many of these people go to Jerusalem. And you will take part of those going to Jerusalem. Maybe you tell me at the present time because of the Intifada and this and that, not too many go. But the number that will come to Egypt is not spectacular, but it's good. You diversify the product, you have something new to offer. And my advice has always been and still is to sell bits and parts of the whole visit. The first part, which is ready and secured, is all Cairo. Then we have the
Red Sea.
The Red Sea, of course, the monasteries, but the monasteries of between Cairo and Alexandria.
The Natron Valley.
Yeah, the Natron, exactly.
Yeah.
There is something to see there, and it's part of the itinerary.
Yes.
But to go to Sakha, for instance, I don't imagine I can go from Zagazig to Sakha with the tourist bus, crossing the Delta. You know, you can't imagine. And people who come for this are usually elderly people. So they need their comfort, they need to find bathrooms, etc., which is not available. So it will be productive on bits and pieces. We'll sell Cairo separately. We can sell Wadi Natrul. And then we can go to Minya, for instance, Wadi Gabal al-Tir. Gabal al-Tir is very important and very interesting in itself. And this could be sold as, when you tell the story, you will take them to Bani Hassan, you will take them to Ashmunain, you will take them to Tell al-Amarna, and then you will take them there. So it's a complement to whatever you are going to do.
Yeah. Egypt is rich in historical sites and monuments, and it's a rich country when it comes to history. Sir, when you talk about the Russian tourism, and when it suddenly stopped coming to Egypt after the latest bomb happened in Sharm el-Sheikh, how far Egypt was affected by the stoppage of the Russian tourism?
We lost 30% because the Russian at this period represented 30% of the total number of arrivals. So if we do, the income is not as high as for other nationalities, but it's important to provide the jobs and jobs for our youth. It's very important. So we used to get 3 million Russian per year, and that's quite a big number. But because in 2015 the number was reduced to 9, so it was 1/3 of the total number arriving in Egypt.
But sir, when we speak about the Russian tourism, they used to say that the poor ones come to Egypt, so it's not a big addition to the tourism here.
It's not, but I'll tell you one thing. We have a hell of a lot of hotel rooms, much more than we need, actually. We have a lot. We have 240,000 hotels, rooms, and then you have 200,000 under construction. So by comparing 2010 with 15 million tourists, you need 45 million tourists. Where are you going to take them? Which roads? And you know, it's a whole infrastructure. So these were good because they were confined to one area. Very few visit Luxor and Aswan, and they visit Luxor only from Hurghada for a one day.
Over a day, yeah.
Exactly. Some come to the pyramids, but they don't even attend the sound and light because they have to return to Hurghada. They come by bus because they want the cheapest way of arriving in Cairo. So it's good, but it's good to have this number.
And in the sense that the bulk, the volume compensate for the prices.
And I've been asked...
And then we tend to sell them optionals as well, and that a little bit compensates as well, don't you think?
But we definitely need them because no other nationality can fill in the gap created by the lack of Russian coming to Egypt. 3 million, some people say the Chinese, they travel a lot. I say you have to understand the mentality of the Chinese. Egypt is not on the map here. It's not one of their wish lists. So you have to play accordingly the game. They want to go and gamble, so they go to Macau, and Australia full of casinos, New Zealand full of casinos, then they go to Hong Kong, and they go to Paris not so much to see the museum, but to take pictures and to buy Louis Vuitton bags. You know, they have a reason, but they don't go to Athens. It's not what they think for the time being. Maybe in 10 years they will shift, but right now, although it's the biggest exporter of tourists, 150 million tourists, Chinese visit the world. but they have other interests for the time being. So we are getting a couple of 100,000, and if it goes high, it will be 400,000, but it cannot replace because of the distance also. Don't forget, Russia is 4 hours away from Cairo, or from Hurghada, or from Sharm el-Sheikh, 4.5 hours. China is 11 or 12 hours, so it's a different. When we talk numbers, it's another calculation altogether.
Yes. Well, also another important field is medical tourism. And we do have a lot of areas where it's rich in its healing material, whether the sand in Aswan or the sulfur springs in the oasis. Now, how can we benefit from that, especially that's another topic which was discussed by the government that it needs to be promoted for?
You are right, but it has to, you have to call everything by its name. This is called wellness tourism.
Yes.
Because you don't treat. I mean, I can't operate in Egypt. Let's be reasonable. When I compete with Germany or with the UK or France or Jordan, they are very advanced. Although it's small scale, but all the people who used to come to Egypt for operation from Libya, they have friends now, they go to Jordan. It will take years until you change the aspect of the hospitals, of the nurses. This is not an easy thing because it's a whole mentality and it's a tradition, how they accept tips, etc. So, but in what you said, this is very right, and we should concentrate because all what we need to have is the natural resources. Like in Safaga, you know, it's good for the skin, but that's sand, sun, and sea. That's what cures. No medicine, because sometimes we have shortage of some medicines as well. So Aswan for the sand, it cures rheumatism and rheumatoid. It's very interesting and no effort. You just put the guy in the sand and don't put his head, just put it up to here. Make sure he's alive. And this kind of tourism is very good if you promote it because they spend normally 28 days. You know, the one that go for the sand treatment.
For the wellness.
Sun. Yeah. Exactly. So it's a long stay, which means it pays. They get a contribution from different medical insurance they have. So it costs them very little at the end. And you are especially addressing markets like Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Finland, where it's wet, humid in winter and cold. So these are the markets we should address. And it's a very lucrative market if we address it properly.
Sir, because we ran out of time, I need a word from you. Egypt is a land of civilization and rich in everything when it comes to history. But at the same time, the flow of tourism in the countries around us, maybe they are poor in civilization and culture, are more than in Egypt. Why is that?
The image. We haven't done anything to promote the image of Egypt in the eyes of the foreign people. We have so many positive things happening in the last 2 or 3 years. The roads, the Suez Canal, the free zone. You know, you have the fishing. All these are things which proves that you have done. We had a lot of visits. We had the Pope visit to Egypt. We had the visit of the German Chancellor of... how did you use them? You did not use them. Of course, we don't have the means to go on television like some of our arch enemies would do, but we have other ways. Social media today. Social media, if every one of us just sent the story that the Pope was in Egypt, it's a big story by itself. So it proves what? That there is safety and security in the country, otherwise he wouldn't come.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Elhamy Ziat, the tourism expert, as well as the former president of the Tourism Chamber Federation. Thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, and now we will be looking into a report about a special film festival and activity held specially for individuals and children with special needs with our colleague Nermin Abdelrahman.